July 20th, 1969. Neil Armstrong plants an American flag on the moon, a symbol of peaceful exploration. But rewind 10 years, and that flag could have been surrounded by something far more sinister. In 1959, while families watched space cartoons and dreamed of lunar adventures, the U.S. Army was finalizing a 400-page classified document with a chilling proposal: deploy nuclear weapons on the moon by 1966. Not a research station, a fortress. This wasn't a paranoid fantasy. It was Project Horizon, a fully costed military operation with weapon specifications, construction timelines, and billion-dollar budgets. The question wasn't if America would militarize the moon. The question was which branch would get there first. Because the Air Force had their own plan, and it was even more ambitious. This is how humanity's greatest achievement almost became its most dangerous mistake. To understand why military minds propose nuclear weapons on another world, travel back to October 4th, 1957. The night Sputnik's signal reached Earth, everything changed. That beeping wasn't just technological triumph, it was existential threat. If Soviets could place satellites over American cities, what stopped them from placing weapons? In Pentagon war rooms, strategists stared at maps with dawning horror. Every ocean, mountain range, defensive perimeter humanity ever conceived suddenly meant nothing. The enemy could bypass it all by going up. And if orbital space was vulnerable, what about the moon? The ultimate high ground. 240,000 miles up, rotating slowly enough to observe every military installation, detect every missile launch, track every naval deployment. Nothing could hide. And if observation wasn't enough, that's where Project Horizon came in. March 1959, Army engineers presented Eisenhower their vision, a 12-man lunar outpost operational by December 1966. The base featured modified Claymore mines around its perimeter, because the Army genuinely believed Soviet cosmonauts might stage lunar invasions. Picture landmines on the moon, waiting in airless silence for enemies who might never come. Blast patterns calculated for 1/6 gravity. More chilling, the base would carry unguided nuclear missiles, not precision weapons, just raw destructive power aimed at Earth. Launch from the moon, and gravity pulls warheads through the atmosphere at speeds no defense could intercept. Engineers named their fortress Fort Armstrong. They saw themselves as frontier cavalry establishing outposts in hostile territory. Except this territory was 240,000 miles away, where punctured spacesuits meant death in seconds. Temperatures swung from 250 degrees in sunlight to minus 280 in shadow, with no water, no air, no rescue. But the Army wasn't alone. The Air Force developed Project Lunex between 1958 and 1959, making Horizon look modest. While Army envisioned surface fortresses, Air Force planned something sophisticated, a 21-person underground base, buried beneath regolith for radiation protection, designed to survive indefinitely. Think Cheyenne Mountain, the nuclear command bunker carved into Colorado granite, relocated to another celestial body. A subterranean fortress with defensive and offensive capabilities, representing permanent American military presence on another world. The Horizon Lunex debate wasn't just engineering approaches, it was battling for the space program's soul. One branch envisioned fortified Alamos in the sky. The other imagined futuristic underground cities for long-term occupation. Both projects reached Eisenhower's desk within months. Documents revealed something terrifying. Neither planned defense alone. Both discussed Earth strike capabilities. Both outlined strategic dominance. Lunex documents captured the logic brutally. Lunar control equates to Earth control. Whoever holds the moon holds the planet. Two American military branches, supposedly united against Soviet threats, were racing each other to weaponize the moon. They submitted detailed budgets, specifications, launch schedules, operational timelines. These weren't fantasies from overeager officers. These were actionable plans backed by engineering teams, cost analyses, and strategic assessments from experienced defense minds. Inter-service rivalry extended 240,000 miles into space. Both branches were deadly serious. Project Horizon's timeline called for 147 Saturn rocket launches between November 1964 and December 1966. 147 launches in 2 years. NASA launched 13 Saturn pieces during the entire Apollo program. Horizon proposed 10 times that in half the time. Each launch carried cargo to the lunar surface, 220 tons total, prefabricated modules, nuclear reactors, life support, communication equipment, construction machinery, and weapons. Those Claymore mines weren't symbolic. Engineers calculated blast patterns in vacuum, where no atmosphere carries shock waves, no air slows shrapnel. On Earth, Claymore steel balls spread in 60-degree arcs. On the Moon, they'd travel perfectly straight until hitting something, potentially miles across lunar surface at lethal velocities. Then nuclear missiles. Unguided ballistics launched toward Earth, allowed to fall. No corrections, no precision. Just aim generally and let lunar escape velocity and Earth's gravity work. Margin of error measured in miles, but with thermonuclear payloads, precision becomes less critical. Once you weaponize the Moon, you create an arms race with no exit. Soviets would respond. They couldn't allow exclusive American military control. They'd launch programs, establish bases, deploy weapons. Suddenly the Moon becomes not human achievement's symbol, but mutually assured destruction's cosmic trigger. Engineers began having doubts. In classified memos they asked, "Is this the future we want? Are we transforming humanity's greatest adventure into its most dangerous mistake?" Lunex took different approaches with equally disturbing implications. Air Force envisioned nuclear excavation, detonating controlled explosions beneath lunar surface, creating habitable caverns. They'd use excavated regolith as radiation shielding. The underground facility housed 21 personnel across multiple levels: living quarters, command centers, weapons storage, launch facilities. Designed for indefinite occupation, permanent military installation representing American dominance across 250,000 miles. Both projects required reconnaissance orbiters mapping terrain, identifying resources. The peaceful technology we celebrate, robotic probes studying surfaces, analyzing composition, searching for water, was originally conceived for military site selection. Where to build fortresses, find resources, position weapons. As plans reached final stages, as budgets were calculated, timelines refined, engineers solved problems, strategists outlined doctrines, projects moved toward reality, funding available, technology feasible, political will existed. They needed presidential approval, but one man stood between military ambition and weaponized Moon. Dwight Eisenhower commanded history's largest military invasion at D-Day. He understood warfare, strategy, high ground importance. Yet when presented with lunar militarization plans, he surprised his generals. He said no. The decision came 1958, as Horizon and Lunex awaited approval. Army wanted their fortress by 1966. Air Force envisioned permanent underground installation, giving America uncontested Earth dominance. Military leaders argued strategic logic was unassailable, funding available, technology feasible. They needed the president's signature. Instead, July 29, 1958, Eisenhower signed the National Aeronautics and Space Act, creating NASA as civilian agency. This wasn't quiet reshuffling. It was deliberate rejection of military space ambitions. Projects effectively canceled before gaining momentum. Plans filed as historical curiosities rather than operational blueprints. Military brass pushed back. They argued keeping exploration civilian during Cold War was naive, dangerous. They warned Eisenhower was surrendering ultimate advantage. They predicted Soviets would militarize while America pursued peaceful exploration. But Eisenhower appointed Keith Glennon as NASA's first administrator. Glennon became unexpected warrior for peaceful exploration, fighting Pentagon turf battles, arguing NASA authority over launches, and planning absorbing military programs and budgets into civilian agency, essentially defunding lunar fortresses by redirecting resources. Behind closed doors, Eisenhower's reasoning was idealistic and strategic. Military experience told him weaponizing guaranteed Soviet response. Every defensive measure becomes offensive threat. Every weapon triggers countermeasures. Arms race already bringing nuclear annihilation's brink would extend where verification was impossible. First strike advantages terrifying. Hope for international treaties limiting space weapons evaporates the moment American missiles install in lunar regolith. Cost measured not just billions, but permanent militarization of humanity's future beyond Earth. Eisenhower gambled peaceful exploration achieves what weapons never could: moral authority, international cooperation. America wins more reaching with open hands instead of clenched fists. First nation reaching another world should represent all humanity, not conquer for military advantage. Between 1959 to 1960, both projects quietly shelved. Official reason: budget constraints, technical challenges. Real reason: political decision pursuing peaceful exploration. Military didn't surrender entirely. Surveillance satellites continued, but Moon preserved as neutral ground. 10 years later, Armstrong stepped onto lunar surface, carrying no weapons, only flag and plaque. "We came in peace for all mankind." Those words weren't inevitable. They resulted from choice. The moon we know, symbol of achievement and peaceful exploration, exists only because critical 1950s decision. Horizon and Lunex weren't fantasies. They were developed military proposals with budgets, timelines, weapons, engineering solutions. Space race nearly hijacked by Cold War paranoia. 147 launches, 220 tons cargo, Claymore mines, nuclear missiles, all planned, costed, implementation ready. Eisenhower creating civilian NASA didn't just change American policy, changed what moon means to humanity. Instead of nuclear fortress, it became destination bringing world together. 1967's Outer Space Treaty banned space weapons, codifying what Eisenhower chose. Space remains mankind's province, not superpower battlefield. But that choice isn't permanent. Today, as military satellites multiply, Space Force expands, nations race back with new technologies and old ambitions, we face Eisenhower's decision again. Whether space remains demilitarized or becomes humanity's next battlefield isn't settled history. It's current events. Footprints on Moon are peaceful, not because peace was inevitable, but because someone chose it. In space's vastness, that choice, reaching with open hands instead of clenched fists, might be humanity's most important achievement. The battle for the moon's soul may not be over. It may have only just begun. If you enjoyed this story, hit subscribe for more stories where history, technology, and human ambition collide. Thanks for watching.